decades, the consensus has maintained that regardless of one's view on the legality of abortion, taxpayers should not be forced to pay for it. This is S News. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and other agencies are investigating reports of 18 salmonella infections linked to Papa Murphy's cookie dough.
The CDC says interviews with sick people show that raw cookie dough sold at Papa Murphy's take and bake pizza stores may be contaminated. The agency says people have been sickened in Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Utah, California, and Missouri. 2 people have been hospitalized, but no deaths have been reported.
That's correspondent Jeremy House reporting the number of sick people is likely higher than the number reported and could extend to other states. People who have Papa Murphy's raw chocolate chip cookie dough and s'mores bars dough should throw it away, according to health inspectors. On Wall Street, a booming session to end the week. On Wall Street, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average up 328 points, the Nasdaq was up by 277. This is SRN News.
The following program is sponsored by the law offices of Patrick L. Smith. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. Get ready with your legal questions and call Patrick now. 877-943-9673. Again, that's 877-943-9673. The law office is open. And now your host, Patrick Smith.
Oh, hi there, and welcome to another edition of the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith, and this is our Memorial Day special. So again, this is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. If you want to be part of our show today, you can call in with your legal questions, which is business as usual around here. And again, we have a full house gaggle of interns, Yumika the producer, and we have Brian the call screener ready to stand by and take your calls. Today we'll be answering your legal questions in addition to allowing you to call in to honor the memory of a veteran. So if you have a veteran out there in your family, let's not lose sight of what Memorial Day is all about. It's more than just a day off from work on Monday. It's a chance to remember all those who paid the ultimate sacrifice and sacrificed in the service of this great nation of ours. So call in with your memory of a loved one who was a serviceman or servicewoman, and we will be happy to give you some airtime to honor them. But we are also are answering all of your legal questions. 877-943-9673. 877-943-9673. You can give us a call now. We're live and local. For those of you new to the program, welcome. I'm Attorney Patrick Smith, Central Florida practicing attorney, offices throughout the state, and Clearwater, Sarasota, Sun City Center, Claremont, the Villages, all throughout the state. So we'll be happy to meet with you. We'll give out the office line later in the show. And the purpose of the show, we're just here every Saturday morning to answer your legal questions. So your question can be on any topic at all. And in between your questions, we talk about whatever I want to talk about that I think might be interesting or educational to you. So give us a call this morning. Open phone lines. Brian the call screener standing by to put you live on the air with me, Attorney Patrick Smith. Again, that number, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com is the email address, and the phone number 877-943-9673. Again, live and local studio lines 877-943-9673. So give us a call now. We'll be happy to talk. Picking up where our show ended last week. We ended with a call. I believe the caller's name was Rosemary from Lakeland. And Rosemary from Lakeland was calling in regarding our discussion of TikTok. And we sort of set it up last week, talking about what is TikTok, the origin stories of TikTok, where the challenge to TikTok came from. And Rosemary sort of brought it to a head with her point about TikTok versus mainstream media, or Meta is actually the company that is directly sort of adverse to TikTok. And Meta's made up of Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, a lot of these major tech companies that we know. And the sort of point that they butt heads on is with a lot of the Meta companies, it's a top-down approach. They decide what content you will see, and it's sort of fed to you through advertisers and their selective process, their algorithm. With TikTok, it's much more democratic. It is outside of the control of a lot of the tech companies at the top. It's fed by the content providers, which means you can't control it if you're one of the tech company executives, so to speak. So there is not this filter or ability to control a certain narrative. So a lot of people, one of the theories out there is that the tension between these two is less about a Chinese spy operation, which is the allegation made by a lot of mainstreamers that TikTok is this Chinese spy operation, but it has more to do with the fact that TikTok takes away a lot of control from a lot of mainstream media. So maybe you have a thought on that. 877-943-9673. 877-943-9673. Live and local studio lines. Give us a call now. I'm attorney Patrick Smith. And we also had an email question that came in last week that was speaking to whether or not we should ban all Chinese based apps. So if we're going to ban TikTok, let's presume we're doing that. And the state of Montana last week was the first state in the union to actually pass a law saying that they intend to, going into effect January 1st. So if we're going to do that, should we ban other Chinese-based apps? Peter, the intern, can you give us a list, or do you have any information on other Chinese-based applications and kind of what they do?
So the next biggest Chinese-made app is WhatsApp, which is tend to use the country, or if they have family members in different countries, to kind of message them. You can call people and text them through Wi-Fi on this app. So that's like the next biggest app that I see people use, as well as Zoom was made in China, which is one that people still use to this day. It got really big during the pandemic in 2020. ExpressVPN, which is what I feel like a lot of people are going to be using in Montana to still access TikTok, and CapCut, which is a video editing app that, again, a lot of people use that also use TikTok.
All right, so we got calls coming in, and I'm assuming those are getting queued up. 877-943-9673. You can give us a call now, live and local. So the question, I guess, this is the classic sort of, fallacy argument, is the slippery slope. Where does it stop? And I don't know. I'm not sure where we have to draw that line. It's not our job, obviously. The legislatures have to decide that. So we, of course, pray for our leaders. They'll make the right decision. But at the end of the day, you have to sit back and really say, well, if Chinese spy operation is the goal of TikTok, then where's the evidence? There's lots. It's easy to make an allegation. And in the name of game in politics, a lot of times, and in media, perception is reality. But if there's such conclusive thinking that it is, in fact, a Chinese spy operation, where's the evidence to show that? And they do collect data. And basically, when you look at the terms and conditions, which we said, because this was Rosemary's actual call, was about the terms and conditions that people agreed to. They capture things like, your IP address, your usage, how long are you on TikTok, and then, standard things. They only get your credit card information if you upload that, if you link it to some sort of credit card application that you're using to buy goods or services. But does that make it a Chinese spy operation by the fact that they are simply gathering information? I'm not sure. I'm not really convinced on that. And I don't know if you have a thought. 877-943-9673. Again, this is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. You can always email us your questions, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com, or give us a call now, live and local, 877-943-9673. And some good has come out of TikTok. So when we were researching sort of part 2 of our TikTok show, it seemed to me like, I heard people say lots of good things, and I've heard things like, I learned so much sort of DIY projects from TikTok, little 30-second videos on how to do home repairs and things like that. So I think there's that good that comes out of TikTok. And I think there's also the good of the story of a guy by the name of Patriotic Kenny. And so, Peter, the intern, asked you to do a little research on Patriotic Kenny because it's a Memorial Day special. Patriotic Kenny, of course, a veteran. And this was a great TikTok story. And Peter, a little background on Patriotic Kenny.
So Patriotic Kenny is a veteran who lost his mobile scooter. It broke down, and he didn't have any funds to buy a new one. And so on TikTok, him and his grandkids went on there, and they kind of started a fundraising campaign to help him get a new scooter. Advertised a lot on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. And after his GoFundMe got enough funds for him to get a new scooter, they turned it into the Patriotic Kenny Foundation, which now raises money for all veterans in need of scooters.
So that's a wonderful TikTok story. There's a great take home from a supposed Chinese spy operation where it actually helped a great veteran, and now helping lots of great veterans be more mobile in their retirement and golden years. So 877-943-9673. You can give us a call now. We're live and local, happy to help any way that we can. 877-943-9673. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith, and we'll be with you for the next hour to answer all of your legal questions. You know, Peter, it comes up a lot of times in estate planning, how people can pass along their information about logging into TikTok and social media accounts. And of course, you know, generationally, you see these things where people say, well, why would I have digital assets? Like, I don't understand what these forms are for, but that's starting to shift where you're seeing more and more elderly have digital assets of Facebook or TikTok. And so now it's become a necessity. So now as part of our practice with our estate planning clients, we, of course, provide them a template so you can pass along to family or friends kind of how to log in to these things, shut them down, or harvest any information that the family may need. So TikTok actually does have an estate planning element to it. You know, we, of course, always try to tie it back to what I do day to day, which is primarily estate planning. So when it comes to doing your estate planning, make sure you keep that electronic information up to date, your online banking information. You want to make sure you keep up with all of your logins for your social media so that your family has access to that information upon your passing. 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. Give us a call now. We're live and local, and we're happy to help any way that we can. 877-943-9673. Give us a call now. If you want to book your complimentary consultation with me, yours truly, 877-754-6764. Again, that toll-free office line to schedule your appointment. You can call Monday through, well, not this Monday. We'll be closed in observance of Memorial Day, but next week, Tuesday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., 877-754-6764. You can give us a call, and we'll be happy to get you on the calendar for an appointment in Sarasota, which the main reason we have a Sarasota office is you, the Attorney Patrick Smith Show Nation. So many callers and listeners down there in Sarasota. We appreciate all our callers and listeners, but especially those of you in Sarasota. You're the reason we have a Sarasota office now. So if you want to schedule in the Sarasota office, Sun City Center office, Clearwater, any of our office locations, that toll-free number, 877-754-6764. Or you can go online and visit our website, attorneypatricksmith.com. You can actually submit a request for an appointment directly through the website and listen to archived radio shows as well. So if you want to go back to last week's broadcast and listen to TikTok part 1 and hear sort of the setup for today's follow-up show, you can go back to the website, click on the radio link, and if you're ever wanting to listen live, you can visit the website, attorneypatricksmith.com, click on radio, listen live, and you'll get the live feed of the show. So, but to talk to us today, 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. So, all right, Max, let me talk to you for a second. So in researching TikTok's terms of service, was there anything that you found that was sort of shocking or sort of eye-opening, concerning about it being a Chinese spy operation?
So for me, I don't really have much experience comparing it to American companies. I haven't read many of the American companies' terms. But from my understanding and reading through it, it's one of those things where at first you read and it's like, oh, wow, it seems like you're allowing them to have access to everything. But from outside sources looking at like experts apparently in this industry, they say that it's similar terms as American companies. The main concern is just the fact that there's not really a way to actually determine the extent to which TikTok is collecting the data, meaning you're authorizing them to, say, for instance, track your keystrokes, but we don't know to what extent they're doing that.
Well, and if we were able to track that, that means we would have similar technology somehow to track it ourselves, right?
Right, yeah.
So I mean, maybe that's, you know, a peek behind the curtain. If we're telling people this is happening, well, how do we know this is happening? Maybe,
yeah.
So, yeah, but there is definitely a legal aspect to that. What have you consented to? But basically, the identification in the terms and conditions is you are, you know, entering into this agreement. And I think one of the interns called it a contract. I'm not sure it rose to the level of contract, but it's definitely an agreement that you've entered into where you are basically agreeing to give up your information and agreeing to certain terms of use, things you cannot say on TikTok. You can't publish information about third parties. And what I noticed was here in the copyright, trademark, and the material for defamatory, obscene, offensive material, it cannot be published on TikTok. apparently they're kind of lax about that, because as I scroll through kind of just the media and the news feeds, there seems to be lots of offensive things or things that people would consider offensive. So I'm wondering if enforceability is really an issue for TikTok as far as, and I think that's sort of the point. It goes back to that Meta versus TikTok controversy. If you have TikTok filled with unadulterated, firsthand empirical data about a news story that has not gone through the filter of any mainstream media, how is mainstream media going to feel about that? And I think that's probably the real threat of TikTok, certainly much more so in my opinion than it being a Chinese spy operation. 877-943-9673. Give us a call now. We're live and local. Happy to help any way we can. 877-943-9673. Give us a call now if you want to book us to come out to your club or group and do a presentation seminar on any of our topics. We do presentations on wills, trusts, and estates, asset protection, probate and trust administration, or we can, of course, customize a topic for your group. That number to call us at the office and schedule that speaking engagement, 877-754-6764, 877-754-6764. Again, you can also call us today. We're live and local. We're here to answer your legal questions. We're also inviting you to call in and share the memory of a loved one who was a veteran in honor of Memorial Day. That number, 877-943-9673. Again, your live and local studio line, Brian the call screener standing by, 877-943-9673. Give us a call now. We'll be happy to share some airtime with you so you can honor a loved one's memory. We'd love to hear from you. 877-943-9673. So kind of where do you guys think this is going to go? The whole TikTok Meta, where do you think this thing is going to settle?
I think they're going to end up keeping it legal. I mean, there's no proof of it being a Chinese spy app. The only thing I could see that is technically wrong with it is kind of what you just stated about how you can't post anything racist, offensive, you can't bully people, but they still leave some different feeds up, whether it's like a news story or whether it's something that someone posted. Because after all of that, in the terms, you go down, it says you can't post any content like that, but then it says TikTok holds the right to leave anything up or remove anything that they seem or deem as, wrong. So I think that that's probably the biggest issue with TikTok, is that they kind of decide the moral nature of what is on TikTok.
Well, and we alluded to this a little bit last week, with Montana passing the ban on it, and maybe you have an opinion on that. 877-943-9673. The goal and the issue becomes now enforceability. And immediately you guys, as young users of TikTok, were already thinking about workarounds for things of that nature. And of course, the fine, according to the Montana statute that was passed, was going to be against the providers, not against the individual parties using TikTok. So the provider won't be able to provide it. So now, as a citizen a resident of the state of Montana, I just have to find a way to get a provider within the state of Montana that will do that. And that can be a provider in a different state. So I think the issue is going to become enforceability. How do you enforce it? And I think that kind of brings into light more this narrative of the fact that it is this sort of mainstream media where we will filter and decide how the narrative, listen, if you don't think there's a narrative to a lot of the mainstream media, go listen to the different outlets and kind of listen to the sound bites. It ought to scare you sometimes on the stories, how similar the sound bites and the talking points really are. And when you go down TikTok, there's none of that. It's just sort of what's going on from a raw firsthand perspective, and you can sort of make your own judgments. So I'm not saying one's better, one's worse. I'm saying, but maybe both are necessary, and that way you can sort of make your own conclusions. But if you have an opinion on TikTok, or you want to call in and honor a veteran's memory and honor Memorial Day, 877-943-9673. Again, 877-943-9673. So you can give us a call now. We're live and local, happy to help any way that we can. 877-943-9673. Or you can email me, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. So, all right. So let's talk a little bit more about estate planning, because you guys obviously have some interest in estate planning since you're interning. So Peter, the intern, what would you say in your years of being with us as an intern, what's the biggest mistake people make when it comes to estate planning?
Not doing it.
What, and elaborate, unpack that.
So in the state of Florida, I guess there's really three things you can do: nothing, a simple will, or a trust. And most people in Florida don't do anything, which is still, not doing anything is still doing something. So whether you get a full trust done, which I think most people should, or not doing anything, most people still just do nothing.
All right. So Lexi, the intern, you've been with me. This is your second summer interning with me, I believe.
Yes.
All right. So when it comes down to those three options that Peter, the intern, just sort of outlined, which one would you say is the most popular based on what you've seen in the practice?
Oh, the trust, 100%.
Okay. And why do you think that is?
It is the safest way to ensure that you have all of your essentials set up. It assures that your family is set up when you pass. It is just the best and most effective way, in my opinion, for you as a person to ensure that your family and you are good to go when that time does come. I have, of course, my niece and my sister and brother-in-law, and I'm sending them to you. I'm sending my entire family to you because I know that this is so important.
So should everyone have a trust, or is there sort of certain markers in finances and family situations that determine whether or not a trust is necessary or optimal?
I really think in every situation, a trust is probably optimal. I'm sure you could probably speak more on that.
Well, and it's a matter of a lot of times, and you see this sort of laws are structured, and the probate threshold for formal probate in Florida outside of any exemption is $75,000. That's a very low number. And, the federal estate tax exemption, Peter, the intern, you know it currently?
12.6 million?
Close, 12.9 million. And there's portability between spouses, so more like 25.8 if you're a married couple. But I bring up those numbers because people love to get them swapped. And they love to say, well, I don't need a trust because I don't have over $25 million. And that's true. There are certain types of trusts that we do just for that category of wealth. But, that number that has grown, I think 90s, it was about 600,000. Today, 12.9 million. It's left most of the population in the dust. But the threshold for the simplest type of probate, in my opinion, and I begin recommending them, is when outside of any of those exemptions, the assets exceed 75,000. So maybe you have a question about that. 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. You can give us a call now, live and local, open studio lines, 877-943-9673, or shoot us an email, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. But to Lexi's point, it's not always the nature of the assets that drive the need for the trust. As she mentioned, she has a young niece, and you have there's a niece on the way, or another niece or nephew on the way, correct?
No, she's already here.
She's already here. So
she's 4 months.
We have two now.
Yes.
So when you have young children, a lot of times trusts are the optimal vehicles to leave any size bequest because of the fact that we want to avoid guardianship. And a guardianship is required under current Florida code when there's something going to a minor and it's in excess of $15,000. You can avoid that by having those assets pass through a trust. So it's possible you can get both advantages. You can get the advantage of having a trust in place to avoid probate and having a trust in place to avoid guardianship for minors. Now, as time goes on, obviously the minors no longer become minors, but usually that estate is going to creep up in value as well. So the trust is there to continue the probate avoidance, and the guardianship issue sort of goes away with the passage of time. And that leads to the second biggest mistake we see in estate planning. Peter, the intern, guess? Not updating what you've done. So it's a close second, folks. And I applaud all of those of you who call and make appointments and come in with your out-of-state documents or your old Florida documents, and we review them with you. That is how you maintain optimization in an estate plan, by continually reviewing it. By continually, I think every 3 years, or when something drastic changes in the family, big change in the finances, new birth, like in Lexi's family, you have a death in the family. Something of that nature would be a reason you would want to go see your estate planning attorney and have them review the documents and make sure everything's optimally efficient. I do these appointments all the time. And these appointments are such that we sit down with the client, go over the family, the finances, and the documents, and make sure that everything still optimally aligns. So at the end of the day, just make sure that if you've done your estate planning, good for you. Make sure you have it reviewed and updated periodically. I can't tell you how many times people come in and they say things like, we did this estate planning when my brother was still alive and he was the trustee of our trust. We obviously need to pick a new backup at this point, or the trustee we pick now has dementia, so can't serve. So there's these updates you need to do to maintain optimization for your family inheriting your assets. 943-9673. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show, and I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. Give us a call now. We're live and local. Happy to help any way we can. Call in with your legal question or to honor a veteran. 877-943-9673. Speaking of Sarasota and how much we love Sarasota, let's go to Michelle. Michelle, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Hi, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. How can we help you?
I have a question. I bought a property with my parents, and we need to know, like, what would be the best way to protect ourselves as far as my siblings going after. We've already agreed upon the fact that, this is an investment we made 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And when they pass, they want to ensure that I'll be able to live in this property after, they leave, because we both split it. They don't want my brothers to come after me for the property.
Now, the title to the property, do you know off the top of your head, Michelle, does it say joint tenants with a right of survivorship or tenants in common? Or is it silent?
It might just be silent. I'm not quite sure.
All right. So essentially, there's 3 ways that multiple parties can own property together in the state of Florida. One is specifically reserved for married couples. That's called tenants by the entireties. I'll spare you the details, but the main thing is you got to be married to get that. The other one is joint tenant with a right of survivorship. That means you and parents own the property, joint tenant with a right of survivorship. Someone passes, the property automatically passes to the survivors that are on that deed. The latter one is called tenant in common. And that means one of those parties on the deed passes away. Their interest in the property passes to their heirs. So my concern is if that deed you have says it's just you and your parents and it says tenants in common, your parents pass and they have some sort of estate plan, or let's say they don't have any estate plan at all and it goes by
they don't. They don't. That's what scares me.
So they go by intestacy, and let's say the intestacy provision could very likely say something like equally to our children. Now you own part of the house and you own another part with your siblings. That obviously would be contradictory to your parents' goal. If the deed says nothing, if it just has your name and your parents' names, do you want to guess which one the state of Florida defaults to? Joint tenants with a right of survivorship or tenants in common?
Probably tenants in common.
You're right. That's exactly what it does. It defaults to that. So if it's silent, if it says nothing, so you need to check the deed. Now, by the way, we are preparing, by the way, interns, this is what we're going to do, prep a show on scams. We're going to do a scam 2.0 episode. We did one about a year ago. But one of the scams going around, Michelle, is this mailer that'll go out. And it seems often to elderly clients saying, do you not have a copy of your deed? You may not even own your home. For $80 or $150, we'll send you a copy of your deed. You can pull it up online yourself, Michelle. You don't have to pay anyone to look at your deed. So you just check with Sarasota County, pull it up on the property appraiser site, and look at what the deed says. And if you need an attorney to look at it free of charge, just give me a call. We'll meet you there in the Sarasota office or chat with you on the phone and make sure you understand exactly what it says. But I say all of that to say this. Your parents can draft around all of this to remove any doubt or excitement. And the more they do, the more they memorialize in writing, the less likely there is to be any successful conflict. I can't guarantee the siblings will be happy about it, but at the end of the day, you want to make sure that if they do bring some sort of suit or challenge, that it's not successful.
Right, exactly. Well, good. We'll be making an appointment with you.
All right, Michelle. We'll look forward to meeting you. I'll give out the office line as soon as we hang up, okay?
Thank you.
All right, have a great Saturday. Happy Memorial Day weekend, Michelle.
You too.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye-bye.
All right.
All right. 877-943-9673. Just give us a call now. We'll be happy to help any way we can. Michelle hanging up does open up a line. 877-943-9673. That's your toll-free line to be part of the show today, to call in and honor a veteran or call in with your legal question. 877-943-9673. 877-943-9673 or email me, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. And again, to reach me at the office during the week, 877-754-6764. Again, that toll-free office line for Sarasota, Sun City Center, Clearwater, any of our office locations, 877-754-6764. And we're seeing more and more of that, kind of the Michelle situation where parents and children are moving in. And I don't know if it's just a product of the pandemic, a product of the, the tough economy out there and families consolidating. It almost has a kind of a Great Depression feel to it, the way families seem to be, just sort of consolidating their living arrangements to save expenses. So that's becoming more and more of a common theme. And, the last time I saw something like this was really with the uptick in blended families. And, not everybody's a first marriage of 50 years with 2 healthy adult children. And one of the things that led to a lot of blended families was, of course, the villages. You have these huge retirement and communities like the villages where you have these huge retirement communities and people who have a loved one that passes away. And after that, at a grief counseling group or at a church support group, or maybe just out and about on the town, they meet someone new and special. And they decide to engage in a marriage for the second time, but they had this life previous. So you see this sort of estate planning challenge where the uptick is, how do we plan for these non-traditional and blended family scenarios? There's some additional work there. And so this sort of families mingling assets together by cohabitating together is sort of the new version of that. It's the new challenge for estate planners, because you have this commingling assets where there's multiple issues as far as, did both parties pay the appropriate amount so that there's no gift tax exposure? What about the liability exposure? What about homestead? So if someone is co-owning a home with a parent, but they also have their other home somewhere else, you might not be able to get 100% homestead. What about liability issues? So there's multiple factors. A lot of times people who co-own property together, and families can certainly do this, but this is typically done sort of in a non-family setting, like a business. You can do a joint property ownership agreement as far as the terms of that ownership, what's going to happen, what's not going to happen. And you basically want to take the time to, like I said to Michelle, the more you memorialize in writing, the less likely there is to be any conflict, and the less likelihood there is to be any sort of success by anyone who does bring conflict to that situation. 877-943-9673. That's your live and local studio line. Give us a call now. We'll be happy to talk to you live on the air. You can call in honor of veteran. 877-943-9673. Give us a call now. You can also email Patrick at attorneypatricksmith.com. I've got a couple of veterans I'd like to honor, my father and my grandfather. My grandfather was United States Navy for World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and my father was also proudly serving the U.S. Army in 1969-1970 with the Wolfhounds, and so thankful for both of their services. So if you have a loved one you want to call in and honor, in light of their service to this great nation, open studio lines, in addition to answering your legal question on this, our special memorial show edition of the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. You can call in and honor a service member. So 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. So when it comes to picking a trustee, Max, you've been with me the shortest time of any of the interns so far. When it comes to picking a trustee or a personal representative under a will, what are the factors that you think people should consider when selecting that person?
Probably number one thing for me would be trustworthiness. You want it to be somebody that you can trust. And also the other thing that I would consider is reliability. Those two factors are probably what I would say are very important factors.
So you have been working hard at trying to get up to speed on the documents. You don't have quite the experience that Peter does or Lexi does, because like I said, you're newer, but you're also further along in the law school journey than them. So do you mind sharing the story about what you did to try to get up to speed and more comfortable in estate planning documents? Who did you ask for help?
I basically went to my parents, my grandmother, and basically just tried to get as many examples of their will, trust, and estate that I could to read through.
Okay, folks, let's walk down this path with Max the intern. So let's say you're a grandparent and you're sitting on your porch rocking, just having an afternoon. And here comes your 25-year-old grandson saying, "Grandpa, can I take a look at that will?" Did you give him any sort of caveat, or did you just sort of walk up and be like, "Hey, I'd like to see the will"? Walk me through the conversation.
Well, they kind of know the circumstance, which is that I'm interning for you. I still haven't taken the class. And I did some online research. I found that they varied. And so I just said, hey, like, I'm trying to get some more experience, trying to see what these documents look like that are actually complete. And would you mind if I read it over?
What did your grandpa say?
Well, my grandfather's passed, but my grandmothers were fine with sharing theirs. My dad was the one. He's like,
Yeah.
no, that's not any of your business.
Yeah, I love your dad's response. That would have been my response. It's like, no, find someone else's degree. That's none of your business. So, but I like your dad already. I've never even met him. I'm sorry about your grandfather, by the way. 877-943-9673. 877-943-9673. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show, and I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. Let's go to my home county of Imperial Polk County, and let's talk to Joe in Lakeland. Joe, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Thank you.
Hey, Joe, how can we help you today?
Well, I've reached out to several lawyers and I haven't gotten any responses. So my granddaughter, her maternal grandfather passed, and the house property has sold, and it's supposed to be divided between the 4 children. My granddaughter's mother passed, so her portion will go to the estate of her mother. But anyway, my concern is the executor of the will. I'm concerned that he will not distribute her check to her, when it gets placed in Mr. Hayes' estate. So I'm wondering, what kind of options do I have to assure that this child gets her inheritance?
I think that we have to start with looking at the will. And you said that there was a deceased daughter who passed away before her father, who is the grandfather of the beneficiary that you're calling in regards to. Is that accurate?
Good job.
Thank you. Because we're professionals around here at the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. All right. So I think you start there. I think you start there, Joe. We take a look at the will. You're the granddaughter. How old is the granddaughter?
She's 19.
Okay, so she's old enough. She's an adult. She can hire counsel to represent her as the beneficiary and then send the letter to the attorney for the personal representative. And if there is no attorney representing that personal representative yet, you can just send the letter directly to the PR, sort of saying you've got certain fiduciary duties and obligations and timelines and, things you need to fulfill to us as beneficiaries. And we're reminding you that you need to get it done. Please reach out to us and let us know when we can expect it. That kind of lighting a fire under them usually gets them moving. And as long as they get a good qualified attorney to help them, it shouldn't be an issue.
What type of attorney does she need?
I think an estate planning attorney, preferably one that does probate and trust administration.
Okay. All right. I appreciate your help, Patrick.
Of course,
Thank
Joe.
you.
How's the weather in Lakeland this morning?
Oh my God, it's gorgeous.
Isn't it? I stepped outside this morning and it was 67 and that humidity had dropped and it was just breathtakingly refreshing. Anyway, Joe, have a great Memorial Day weekend. Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. You're listening to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. To be part of the show today, 877-943-9673. 877-943-9673. All right. We're going to go back to Imperial Polk County and we are going to talk to Wendell. Wendell, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Thank you. Good morning.
Hey, Wendell, what station are you listening on?
102.5.
All right. We appreciate you
I'm
listening.
not sure exactly what that is, which one that is.
Oh, that's 102.5 The Bone, one of our more popular stations for sure. So, Wendell, we appreciate you calling in. How can I help today?
Well, it's a deed that my mother-in-law has, and she's 104 years old, and she's put on the deed, she's got her name as 100%, and she put 0% on one child and 0% on another child, and the other children are not on the deed, and I was just wondering what that meant.
So it sounds like her name's the only name on the deed, and if her name's the only name on the deed, it'll probably go through probate, but I don't want to skip over the fact that you just announced that she is 104 years old.
Yeah, we had it all worked out when she was 99, and the family decided, or she decided that she wanted it back in her name. Well, it was in her name anyway, but it had been set in the children's name for life estate, you know. But they decided at 99 she put it back in her name, and now she's in a little bit situation.
If there's any way you can have her call into the show at 104 and set that new record for the oldest caller we've ever had, Wendell, I would love to talk to her and pick her brain about everything she's learned in her 104 years on this earth. That is amazing.
And she still remembers what happened in 1930 and people's names.
Is she originally from Polk County?
Yes.
Wow.
Well, no, she moved down here from South Georgia, I guess, when she was a teenager.
Well, we can't all be perfect. All right. Well, Wendell, I think that's it. You take a look at the deed, and it's odd that you say something like she put someone on there for 0%. That's not something you would typically do on a deed. So I really am just keen to take a look at it. So if you call the office next week,
they said I had heard that I guess back in, I don't know where it was the Johnson administration or what, but they came out with a ladybird deed or something where people could put it 0%. And then it would, if she passed, it would go to the way it's on there. Then they'd end up with 50% and 50%. Do you know anything about that?
And that may be what they've done. I mean, if she's 104, she was definitely around when ladybirds were sort of at their popularity back in the 70s. And I think that, you know, at the end of the day, we just need to take a look at the source, take a look at the deed, see what it says. So if you call me at the office next week, what I can do is on the phone with you, I can pull the deed up off the Polk County property appraiser site. We'll take a look at it in real time, Wendell, and we'll come to the exciting conclusion together. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, Wendell, have a great day. Okay. Thanks for listening. Happy Memorial Day.
Happy Memorial. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. You're listening to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. To give us a call now, live and local open studio lines, 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. If you want to call in to honor a veteran or with a legal question, your toll-free number, 877-943-9673. And Wendell hanging up does open up a studio line, so feel free to give us a call. Shoot us an email, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. And to reach us at the office during the week to schedule your complimentary consultation, that number for the office line, 877-754-6764, 877-754-6764. All right, let's go to Newport Richie and let's talk to Beverly. Beverly, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Thank you for taking my call.
Happy to do it. How can we help you today?
Well, I wanted to run something by you. I'm a Massachusetts resident, but I'm here 6 months of the year. And I have a disabled son and that I care for. And I have a will. You know, everything is written up north. I have a trust fund that's set up, and my lawyer in Massachusetts she's supposed to run the trust. And my will, I have my family member who is the executor of the will, kind of reluctantly, but anyway, I'm thinking about actually, you know, changing state, you know, leaving Massachusetts and have my permanent residence in Florida. What kind of is this going to work out with my? Is that trust good? Here
so the short
Florida?
Yeah, the short answer, Beverly, is any document valid in another state is valid in Florida. However, validity does not equal optimal efficiency. So if you switch your residency to Florida, you're going to want to make sure to have a qualified estate planning attorney review that trust with you to see what, if anything, needs to be updated, like the situs provision, you know, the provision that says this trust is governed by the laws of. You probably want to update that to Florida. If you've got a Florida homestead property, you're probably going to want to add a section to it that says, here's how I'm going to hold my Florida homestead property so we don't have any homestead issues with regard to your constitutional protection that Florida gives you regarding homestead ownership. So I think if you do that, make an appointment. We'll give you a free review of everything, tell you what, if anything, needs to be updated, Beverly. But a great point, and your point is demonstrating sort of the success of those who don't make that second most common mistake in estate planning. When you revisit your out-of-state or old documents to make sure that they're up to date for current situation. So I applaud you for doing that, Beverly.
Yeah, thank you. I am considering, you know, my son going into a group home, maybe somewhere I can find around Clearwater or something and so because I'm getting on, I'm going to be 71, and I want to make sure he's taken care of. But my lawyer, you know, she's a great lady, but she's in Massachusetts, and I don't know. It's just so I think that's what I'll do. I don't know you, but I've heard you on the radio a couple times, and maybe next time I come back.
Well,
I have to go to Massachusetts now in about 2 weeks. When I come back, I can try to.
Beverly, you travel safely, okay? We'll say a prayer for you and your son, and we'll look forward to helping you get the peace of mind you need about that situation. We have an office right there in Clearwater on South Highland Avenue. So when that time comes, just give the office line a call and they'll get you on my calendar, okay? And have a happy Memorial Day.
Thank you very much.
God bless you. Bye-bye.
God bless you.
877-943-9673, your live and local studio line, 877-943-9673. Beverly hanging up, opens up a line. Give us a call now, 877-943-9673. This is Attorney Patrick Smith, and you're listening to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. Next, we're going to Tampa, and we're going to talk to Marvin. Marvin, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Good morning.
Hey, Marvin.
Thank you. I listen to your show every now and then, and I caught it this morning, and I had some legal questions.
Fire at will, Marvin.
I'm the only son. My mother passed away. I was the administrator to her estate. It was probated in 1984 in Augusta, Georgia. She owned some property here in Tampa, and that property I thought had been sold, had been transferred into either my name or to my, I guess it would have to be put in my name, right?
I don't know. It would go back to whatever happened back in 84 when I was 2, probably. We would need to take
probably true.
We'll take a look at something comparable to an ancillary administration in Florida for the property in Tampa, and it should have been administered pursuant to the terms of the will. That may have already been done, Marvin. It may also be outstanding.
I don't think it was done. I don't think anything was done. I had an operation. I was out of commission there for some time. I have a business here in Tampa on Del Mabry, 60 years. And we had leased that property, that my corporation leased that property from her.
Mm-hmm.
And I was under the impression that that property had been transferred into my name or either into my son's name, which I don't think that could have been done, probably.
It's an interesting case.
Done in my name.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting case, Marvin. Do you have all that paperwork back from 84?
I have the will and the probate.
All right, bring me that file, and I'll take a look at it with you free of charge. Just review everything and determine what, if anything, you need an attorney to do to get you where you need to be.
Exactly.
All right, Marvin?
Okay. I'll try to make an appointment here in the next few days, maybe.
Marvin, I'll look forward to it. Now, you said you had a business on Del Mabry?
Yeah, near the stadium, next to Mom's Restaurant. Been there for 61 years. I sell commercial vehicles, automobiles, trucks, and vans.
Okay, well, here, you've been there 60 plus years. Go ahead and give yourself a 30-second shout out. Go.
Say again?
You want to promote your business? I'll give you 30 seconds. You can promote the business.
Yeah, we are selling our vehicles to third and fourth generation people, and we sell a very, very high quality. We don't buy vehicles that have issues, and we want our customer to get more than his money's worth when he buys. And we don't even have salespeople. It's a family. My wife, my daughter is the manager of the office, and my son runs the business, and I still do the buying, and I'm 86 years young.
All right. What's the name of the business, Marvin?
Shoemate Trucks and Vans, Shoemate Storage Center.
All righty. Well, Marvin, we appreciate you. Good luck. Last time,
hey,
by the
and
way,
thank you, Patrick.
Of course. Last time we did that was for a client. They were we had someone call in, and they were promoting a business, and then at their grand opening, and we found out yesterday from someone else they had a line out the door. So may you get a similar pop, Marvin. Okay. Good luck.
Well, good. Thanks again, and I hope you have a very happy Memorial Day.
You do the same, sir. Yes, sir. Oh, well, thank you for your service. Which branch?
You got it. And thank you.
All right, bye-bye. All right, you're listening to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show, 877-943-9673. We're just about enough time to wrap up the show. So if you want to reach us at the office next week, 877-754-6764. Again, that toll-free office line for any of the office locations, Sarasota, Sun City, Clearwater, 877-754-6764, or email me, Patrick at attorneypatricksmith.com, Patrick at attorneypatricksmith.com. And you can always visit our website, attorneypatricksmith.com. Check out old podcast of the radio show if you want to go back and listen to a favorite. And a very, very special thank you to all of our veterans who have ever served for this great nation of ours. We could not thank you more for the sacrifice you made for our great nation. So everyone, God bless. Have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend, and go out and find a veteran, shake their hand, and tell them thank you. God bless. We'll see you next week.